But Caleb Williams stepped up to the mic and explained himself. Kind of. He doesn't need to. He needs to let the football do the explaining for him. We'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is, in fact, your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On NFL PM show. And as usual, it's Thursday, and that means Chris Carter from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and Locked On Steelers is joining us here today. What we do, we just break it down, give you some of the top stories from around the National Football League. A lot going on with these OTAs. We're going to nail all of this stuff for you here today. Make sure wherever you listen to podcasts, you tap into that location so you do not miss an episode. Whether you watch or listen, we will be there. Here's where we're going. I'm going to give you a roadmap. The Chiefs, they're still the darlings of the NFL, and they should be, but people get fatigued about stuff, and we'll talk about how the Chiefs may be on TV a little bit too much for a lot of people's liking. Bryce Young, he's improved, but how much does that mean his improvement? Because he got better, does that mean he's still the answer in Charlotte? We'll make sure that we stop by Julian Council's residence and let him talk about that. Of course, host of Locked On Carolina Panthers. We're going to start, though, talking about Caleb Williams. He faced the music, faced the media, Chris, about something that happened before the draft process a year ago. And I'm telling you, people let the draft process put him in a headlock because this dude has a whole year of playing and they're still bringing up stuff from 2 years ago. But it's to be expected, I guess, this time of year, brother.
Yeah, it's part of the off season. You know, narratives get drawn. We're dealing with that here in Pittsburgh with TJ Watt. He hasn't showed up. Oh, it's a disaster. He might not sign. He's going to sign. But this is what happens. You know, people get bored. People need things to talk about, so they make things to talk about. But let's see what's going on in Chicago.
Yeah, let's see what's going on, man. Caleb Williams had to step up to the mic and talk about some pre-draft stuff that was said yesterday. Lauren Cox, of course, always right on the spot, and he'll give you his assessment of what happened.
The bottom line is Caleb Williams loves being here and has left no doubt that he loves being here. And I think we don't have to worry about this being a continuing problem in the future because of the type of competitor that he is. He sees being the greatest Bears quarterback of all time as a challenge that he wants to strive for. And he is not the kind of competitor who's just going to quit on that at the first sign of trouble, right? If he was going to quit at the first sign of trouble, he would have done that during his rookie season.
All right, so I applaud Lauren for the way he worded that he's not going to walk away or run when things get a little bit uncomfortable. But let me explain something to you. Chicago was the place where quarterbacks went to die before he got there. They never had a 4,000-yard passer. So anytime somebody says something like that pre-draft, especially if it's daddy, I'm not mad at him because now he's been there a year. He's gone through the fire. Statistically, that kid did not play terribly. I think the expectations are high. And then there's a guy named Jaden Daniels that's clouding everybody's vision because of how good Jaden played last year, Chris.
Yeah, you know, I think that there's controversy whether or not Caleb Williams is going to be the guy for Chicago. Will he break their streak of just bad quarterback luck for decades now? I mean, basically both of our lives. You know, so I hear that. I think the thing here is that like there's no transfer portal in the NFL. Caleb Williams can't just be like, I'm out. He can't opt out of anything. He is locked in here as long as his rookie contract is. And let's face it, if he doesn't work it out with the Bears, he going to get like one more shot after that, and then it's going to be – so he kind of has to make it work. So I feel like, yeah, like Caleb Williams is going to be there because he's got to be. Because if he doesn't make it work in Chicago, you know, he might get one other shot after that, but then you don't make that shot work, you suddenly turn into Jameis Winston or Justin Fields or anyone that's bouncing around the NFL right now trying to prove themselves. And I think Justin Fields has one more chance with the Jets, but like if Justin Fields doesn't make it with the Jets, he's going to be Jameis Winston bouncing around the NFL for teams that are, you know, kind of like the Steelers who are just, look, we're looking for a one-year quarterback situation so we can draft our guy next year. That's where Caleb Williams, and again, he's a young guy. He's got plenty of time to develop. So like, there's no doubt in my mind that like, he's gonna have the chance to prove people wrong. But like, that's what's gonna have to happen here. I think that like I said before that clip, it's the off season, it's springtime. There's not a lot of things going on, so we start kicking up things. 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions as a rookie, 5-12 as a starter. On a team that was knowably bad,
poorly coached.
Yeah, and like you can't put that really all against him, but I think you do want to see progress. You do want to see him taking the right steps, and that's where it's going to be interesting this year. Are they able to make that happen? They've been adding to his weapons with the Bears, and you want to see him kind of build at least a serious passing threat with Ben Johnson, who you brought here to be that offensive mastermind.
I'm perplexed when it comes to Caleb. And the reason why is because you named his stats, and those stats are better than the narrative that's being put out there about him, right? But the thing that bothers people about him, and granted, there are people that are going to say it's the earrings, it's the fingernail polish, is whatever, however he moves, he looks aloof, he acts, all of that's good and fine, right? But now I read a report where I saw where Ben Johnson, and they didn't necessarily mention Caleb, but they were talking about players and they were talking about quarterbacks. So deductive reason, it says they were talking about him, where Ben Johnson is trying to change their body language. He says, look, you see that? Basically, I'm paraphrasing him now, but he was like, we don't want that, because that kind of sends a message that you're pouting and worrying about what happened as opposed to looking forward to what is about to happen. He's talking straight to that kid. You cannot be a leader and wear your emotions on your sleeve unless those emotions are to fire people up, right? You can't sulk. Your shoulders can't fall. Your chest can't go backwards. Not to be a quarterback in the National Football League, Chris. And I think that's what they're trying to fix about him, because too many people just sat back, gave him the ball, and let him do what he wanted to do in college. Well, now he's going to be coached because everybody's good. The variance between the worst players and the best players is not that big like it is in college. And there's some stuff you got to do, and there's a way that you have to act. It's not all about him anymore. It's about him leading 52 other people. And that body language means a whole lot when it comes to playing quarterback.
It does. It's why it's so important to be so attentive. It's why quarterback is such a difficult position, not just because of the complexities of the game, but the complexities of leadership, where you got to be the guy that sets the tone, especially when you're drafted first overall the way Caleb Williams is. If a guy is a game manager quarterback, less pressure on him. You still want him to have the right body language, the right presence. But when you're the guy, when you're drafted to be the guy, when you're about to when they're getting ready to pay you to be the guy, and whenever his rookie deal is done in 4 years, you got to have that mentality to you. And also as a quarterback, you want to see that swagger, right? Because quarterback is as like a gunslinger, man. Like, you may throw a pick, but you got to come back the next drive, and you can't be scared. You got to do your thing, play your system, and keep going. And if you get hit, you got to get back up, rub some dirt in it, get back out there and keep going. I think that's what they want to see out of Caleb Williams, is show the grit, show the ability to take a hit, keep it moving, and guide the team to victory. You look at his last several games from week 11 on to week 17, so his last 7 games of the season. He threw 1 interception and about 4, 6, 9, 11 touchdowns. Like, you want to throw more touchdowns in that stretch, but 1 interception, you're figuring things out. If he's able to throw at a high clip and guide the team to wins, that's the stuff that starts to build culture, because that's ultimately what Ben Johnson needs to build, right? He needs to build culture. And if he's an offensive mastermind, the culture got to go through his offense, and with the investment they put at quarterback, it's got to go through the quarterback. So he needs Caleb to be more than just a playmaker. He needs him to be a leader on and off the field, and body language is definitely very, very much a big part of that.
People say being a pops, man, when you're a dad, I can talk about this because I'm dad 5 times. They say you ask your dad for something and he never sweats. That's a lie. You just didn't see me sweat. I sweated in the car. I didn't sweat in your face, though, because I didn't want you to worry. That's what leadership is, and that's what Caleb has to do. We're going to talk about some other quarterbacks. Bryce Young has gotten better. Is better good enough? Let's discuss that here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. SGA, man, last night. Major momentum shifts and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I'm going to tell you right now, man, what would it look like to combine live props and mid-game based on how the action actually unfolds? In-game action, that's the key. All right, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we pushing through here on a Thursday. OTAs have gotten started. My man Chris Carter was at OTA and had to run home real quick to make sure we get this recording done for y'all's listening pleasure here on Locked On NFL. Let's stick with these quarterbacks for a second. We just talked about Caleb Williams. A lot of good mojo coming out of Carolina because Bryce Young, well, the quarterback whisperer, my man, the head coach, Dave Canales, who did it in Tampa, he did it again with Bryce. Now, does that mean that just because Bryce has played better, that he's been good enough? Is he good enough for the franchise moving forward? Sometimes that stuff is fool's gold. Listen to our Monday co-host, Julian Council, Locked On Panthers.
I still believe that Bryce needs to have a very strong season this upcoming year for the conversation about him getting a big-time extension next offseason to happen. At the very least, you would expect him to play well enough to have the fifth-year option and then get a fourth season to where after that, as long as things continue to trend in the right direction, that maybe Carolina makes that major investment in him as their franchise quarterback. Right now, he's not their franchise quarterback. He's their starting quarterback. There's plenty of guys in the league who can be starting quarterbacks, not a lot of guys that can be franchise quarterbacks.
I think Julian makes a great point. He's not a franchise quarterback. And just because he's better, it doesn't mean he's what he is supposed to be or what you drafted him to be. I think Bryce Young will be fine. I did a comparison. I did a comp, and it's been Drew Brees forever, right? And I know that's a little lazy to a lot of people, but it's not necessarily apples to apples, Chris. What I'm basically saying is you need to just focus on the things that he can do. Don't worry about the things that he can't because you already picked him now. And if you do that and build things around him, I think Bryce will be fine.
Yeah, I think Bryce just needs to be in a situation that works. And, I'm not sure if he's the guy that's going to raise everything by himself. But I do I liked Bryce Young in Alabama. I thought he made some big game throws and showed his ability to be that guy. But he needs a system. He needs no line. He needs playmakers around him. He's not a guy that can just lift everything up by himself. And there's very few quarterbacks who are. So I do think you give him that kind of slack. But I also think that it's like I'm not so sure that Bryce Young, like, you finished the year that strong, right? Like, they finished the year winning two games in overtime where they put up the 30 or 40 points. And in his last 3 games, he did throw 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. But that really turned around what was a really rough year going into that point. They still finished 4-10 on the season. So before that, they were 2-9 going into that 3-game stretch. And without those, and before those numbers, he had 8 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And that's coming off a year where he went 11 touchdowns for 10 interceptions the year before that. Bryce Young has not lit it up yet. Like, he's definitely not a franchise quarterback yet, and he has a lot to prove. Julian's right on the money that this is a huge year for him. He needs to show that he should be the reason why they invest in him, for the future, that he has the talent to get them, to take them forward. So this is a big year for Bryce Young. And I think that's one thing that you just got to keep in perspective is just like, I know that there's guys that have been drafted high, but by the time their rookie contract starts to come around and you come around to being like, hey, 5th-year options on the table, you need to have shown that you're that guy. Like Caleb Williams will be in the same boat. If he does not take a step forward this year, people's going to be saying, hey, year 3, you got to step up, or, it's going to be harder questions are going to be asked when you get right before year 4 and you have to talk about, a contract, a 5th-year extension. And, do you want to exercise it? Those are questions that'll be asked. And Bryce Young, is again, he's with the team right now. and he's with the Panthers right now. And if the Panthers, let's say he plays well and the Panthers as a team don't play well, then you still have to ask yourself, as against Carolina, like, hey, is he the guy? Is he the guy that's going to get us through this? And they need that answer. And if he doesn't help them make that an affirmative yes by the end of this season, Carolina could be doing another set of rebuilds and getting ready to draft another quarterback in a couple of years.
I know the feeling, man. When you have one, it's hard. If you're committed to one, then that's just like having one, because you're going to build and pretend that you have one. We're going to talk later about a team that doesn't have one, and they're trying to give them a kickstand and some bumper cables, just in case, it gets real ugly. I'm talking about the Colts. But first, I'm going to stay right there in the AFC South, and we're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans. I got to admit, the narrative around Tennessee feels different. The buzz around their number one overall pick feels different. It feels like at the very, very least, he's going to be confident. He's going to make throws. He's just going to be a rookie. That's the very least. Well, there's another guy they had last year. He fit all of that, and that's Will Levis, but he just wasn't good enough. Tyler Roland initially said he did not want them to split reps. He's now saying Levis needs reps. Those are not the same things now. Split reps means 50-50. But he admits that Will Levis needs some reps. Check him out here as he talks about OTAs.
Phase 3 of the Tennessee Titans offseason starts today. They can finally do full team 11 on 11, full team 7 on 7 stuff. No pads, of course, but this is clearly the closest thing to football that we have seen all offseason. All eyes are going to be on the quarterback position. You got Will Levis, you got Cam Ward. Cam Ward needs to get starter reps to begin getting ready for week 1, in my opinion, but Will Levis should get backup quarterback reps, and the Titans should continue to develop him in hopes to move him later in the offseason. But I'm also going to have my eyes on the young skill position players, the 3 wide receivers, Chim Dike, Elikayo Manor, Xavier Restrepo, and then Gunnar Helm at tight end as well, who I think has a great chance to become a starter day 1 for the Titans. But on defense, you look at how quickly will second-round pick Femi Oladejo rise up in a weak edge class, and then that trio of young linebackers, Otis Reese, Cedric Gray, James Williams, who will take the spot next to Cody Barton. There's a lot to pay attention to, and the battles really start now. I'm going to be breaking it all down later tonight on Locked On Titans. Make sure that you get subscribed on whatever platform that you listen to podcasts, and on YouTube as well. Tighten up.
My man said, tighten up. Yeah,
Tighten
I get
up.
it. Tighten up. Good stuff. Good coverage by Tyler Roland there about OTAs. Make sure you check him out if you're a Titans fan on Locked On Titans. I kind of feel good about Cam Ward, believe it or not. And I really feel good about it because everybody's talking about the quarterbacks in Cleveland. Ain't nobody even talking about Cam Ward. I think that's good for him and good for Tennessee.
I think it's a very good observation that you kind of want all the attention somewhere else. Hey, go pay attention to Shore and Dylan Gabriel and all those guys over there. Let me be me. It's funny, like, I tell Steelers fans who there's a contingency of Steelers fans that really believe Will Howard's going to be the guy. It's not a thing. But like I tell Steelers fans, let him be a 6th-round draft pick rookie.
Please.
Do not try to put this on him. Now, Cam Ward, you can't dodge that. He's the 1st overall pick of the draft. So you got expectations. Everyone's looking at you. But I do think it's good to just, hey, take it one step at a time, man. That's the only thing you can do. I do like Cam Ward. I covered him in the ACC. I thought he did a really good job in college. I thought he was my only guy in this draft class. And I said, that's a bona fide QB1. Take him in the 1st round and build around him. And they did. And so I think that now you just got to take your time. Trust your process. You've built up structures to teach the offense. Trust those structures unless you think that you built them wrongly, then address those as soon as you can. But let Cam Ward grow, man. He's gotta grow into being his rookie, find his feet, and then from there you can address, okay, what things do we need to work on? It's all a step-by-step process.
It is a step-by-step process, and I don't have any more to add to it because you basically just said it as well as it could be said. I agree with you, Chris Carter, and I would say that to a whole lot of people. I think we're all in agreement that the NFL knows who they need to be putting on TV, and I say it needs to be. And that's not correct, but y'all who understand where I'm going know exactly what I mean. Mm-hmm. Kansas City is all over the TV, them and the Dallas Cowboys. But Dallas ain't won nothing in a while, and people like to watch Dallas lose. They're polarizing for that reason. The Chiefs don't lose very often. They win. I think people are tired of seeing them winning, And what they're doing is they're just saying they're tired of seeing them, period. We'll talk about the Chiefs, and then we'll get into a little bit about the Colts and what they have done in our third and final segment here on Locked On NFL. I call it winning fatigue. That is, whenever somebody's successful and they're constantly put in your face, you're just going to get tired of them eventually, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I think the Peacock and Williamson podcast covers that when it talks about the schedule with the Kansas City Chiefs. Check this out.
And some fans are upset, thinking that the Kansas City Chiefs getting too good a treatment and are in prime time too much. And they're in prime time quite a lot. Like the league is, the league wants the Kansas City Chiefs in the spotlight,
Clearly, which I'm sure they would be no matter what. They go to the Super Bowl basically every year. They've got the best quarterback in recent memory, Andy Reid, Spags, Kelce, and Chris Jones. They're very marketable, obviously.
Not as marketable as one pop star.
Taylor Swift's the most popular human being on the planet, most recognizable human being on the planet. I think that's a ton to do with her. I mean, they are first team in NFL history to have 5 primetime games in their first 8 weeks. And the first one's in Brazil against the Chargers. And then they also play Thanksgiving and Christmas. For the second year in a row, they're playing Christmas.
I'm glad they mentioned Taylor Swift because I was sitting there thinking it, and there it popped out. Chris, you know what this is like. Y'all's games against Baltimore, Roethlisberger and Cowher and his jaw and all of this stuff, Pittsburgh being on TV all the time, and people just getting tired of it. It happens. It's called winning fatigue. That's what goes on. But I'm going to warn all those bad teams. You don't want to be on national TV if your team ain't good because people will see exactly why they ain't on TV. Go ahead, Chris.
No, but look, not only Matt wasn't joking when he said that this team is in the Super Bowl every year. They've been in 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. Were it not for the Bengals and those safeties, the secondary that they let Lou Anarumo drew up, and Joe Burrow having a really good day against them, the Chiefs would be like the new Bills, because not even the Patriots did 6 straight Super Bowls. Right. They are on some other stuff right now. So yes, they're gonna be on every primetime chance. Everyone wants to see them lose or see them win, because you know what also happens is when a team start winning a lot, that everyone wants to be the fan of that team, because everyone's like, I want to root for a winner. And kids that don't, or kids that don't live in a city or a state or a city without a football team, or they don't have their immediate, they're like, I like that team. They're winning. They're fun. And Patrick Mahomes is so awesome, and I'm gonna root for. So yes, they're the front runners. They're the Warriors of the late 2010s and the early 2020s. They're LeBron James. They're the Patriots. They're the Steelers of the 70s. They're on that level, man. Like I don't know what else to say about what the Chiefs have been able to accomplish. And again, they've won 3 of those 5 Super Bowls that they've been in. So they've proven it. And there's nothing seeing right now that they're going to slow up. Now, you can say the Chargers could catch up. We've talked about them in the show. I think the Chargers could catch up to them this year. I think there could be something that happens. But until someone stops them from making it to the Super Bowl, it's tough to pick against them to not make the Super Bowl. So
you just said it. You just said a mouthful, dog. I said the same thing about the tush push. You don't want them to do it. Do it back. Stop them. If you don't want them to be on TV all the time, beat them.
Yeah.
Beat them.
That's simple.
Give the league a reason to not put those jokers on TV. Beat them and stop complaining that everything they get because of refs, even though they do get some stuff because of the refs. I want to ask you something. You said they on some stuff. This is the barbershop. How close was you to saying what you were supposed to say? They on some other crap. How close, Chris? Because I'm telling you, when you were saying it, if it was me, I probably would have let it pop out, and I would have had to edit it. Were you even close to letting that out, man?
No, listen. I'm the kind of person that, when I go, code switching. We know how to. What I went to law school. I knew what to say there, and I knew what to say in the barbershop. You know what I'm saying? There's different language. So when I'm on camera, I know not to say certain words. You don't gotta coach me that. But no, yeah. But when I say other stuff, when I say they on that other stuff, they are beating the snot out of teams. They are on an elite level pace, and like this deserves commendations. Like even if they don't ever win another Super Bowl, this is a dynasty of a different level, man. Like they have achieved a whole lot And that's where I think they deserve that respect. And they get that respect. So they're going to continue to be on TV. And heck, let's say this year someone knocks them off. The Ravens make it to this, or the Bills make it to the Super Bowl. Guess what? They still going to be on prime time the next year, as long as Patrick Mahomes, their quarterback, or until they fall off. Because here's the other thing. Like you said, people love to see a hero or a champion fall. They love to see their demise. They love to see the end. And so people are going to want to see, oh, yeah, now it's time to get our licks in. Let's get our lick back on these guys.
They want their pound of flesh,
Exactly. People are going to want that for all the times the Chiefs have carved up people. It's the same thing with the Patriots. People love seeing Tom Brady lose towards the end of his career, whether it was with the Buccaneers or with the Patriots. They love those chances to see Bill Belichick looking ridiculous with Cam Newton out there at quarterback. So, like, it happens, man. You know, the Steelers of the late 2000s, when they started to get old, Warren Sapp used to rejoice. He's like, they're old and slow, because Warren Sapp used to get whooped by them dudes on the regular. And he was like, finally, I can talk smack about Hines Ward and Casey Hampton, all of that, because they used to beat us all the time. And it's natural. When you see it's a competitive sport, and when you see a team that's been on top for so long, you want to see their fall. So they're dominant. So yeah, they're gonna be the darlings of the NFL until someone proves otherwise. And let's face it too, Tony, like, as much as, you know, the Eagles were impressive this year, there's plenty of teams right up there that could take the crown from the Chiefs and the Eagles this year. The Bills could do it. The Ravens could do it. You know, we could see can the Niners get back up there? You know, they've been falling off lately with Kyle Shanahan. Will another team emerge in the NFC?
Washington, Tampa, right?
You know, Washington, Tampa,
Detroit,
Daniels. Detroit's been knocking on the door. There's so many good teams that are on the rise that, you know, it's why it's so impressive the Chiefs have been there so often, and why it's like you know, we talk about the teams like we talk about when we talk about the Steelers and they haven't won a playoff game in 8 years, because oftentimes when they get to the playoffs, they're up against Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson in their house. And that's just a tough thing to win when you don't have your own franchise quarterback. If you put the Steelers in the NFC, maybe they beat some of those teams because they don't got as many franchise superstar quarterbacks in the NFC right now. But in the AFC, despite Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson being in the NFL at the same time, all within their primes, going up against Patrick Mahomes and other guys that are in that conference, the Chiefs continue to regularly be the team that gets out on top. The Bengals had 1 year where they got over them, and they didn't win a Super Bowl. And ever since then, it's been the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So yeah, they're going to be the top dogs. I know people are probably sick of us talking about it, but again, I do think someone could come and knock them off their perch. But even when they do, the Chiefs are going to be that talking team until Patrick Mahomes starts to be bad, or they get several years in a row where it's clear, like, okay, the magic of the dynasty is gone. They have to rebuild and get back there.
I totally agree with you again. You're 2 for 2 today. And I will add to that part of it, though. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Derrick Brooks, said the greatest tackle they ever made was when they finally hit Barry Sanders. They finally got him clean. They finally caught that joker with both of his feet planted in the ground, and they were able to go across the bow, lift him up, and drive him into the ground. And they said it was pure euphoria. You know why they felt that way? Because you haven't been able to do it. I guarantee you the Eagles and the Bucks love those Super Bowl wins so much because they knocked off Goliath. In order for you to knock Goliath off, he has to exist. So fans need to stop complaining about a team that is totally dominant, because they could be Colts fans. And let's get to that real quick. I think the Colts, I like that tight end. I ain't like the tight end Tyler Warren that they took more than everybody. But I think they really did it because they needed a buddy for their quarterback. A quarterback that I don't think that's good. And when you start building your team around players that aren't very good because you have to give them a kickstand or some jumper cables, then that's a problem. Listen to this real quick.
Let's kick it off with yours here. What was your biggest and best move for this Colts team in the 2025 offseason?
Well, it's the one that we all said they needed to make basically since, October. And that was drafting Tyler Warren. And
we'll stop right there. They needed Tyler Warren since October last year. What if Tyler Warren really isn't that good? And I think he's okay. I don't think he's great. I think Tyler Warren is a mid player going to a mid team with a bad quarterback, and I think that's disastrous.
Yeah. Listen, I'll say this. I think Tyler Warren is that. I think Tyler Warren can be a dog.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't cover him because I wasn't covering the Big Ten, but I work here in Pittsburgh, and Penn State has a big contingency of fans, so you keep an eye on Penn State guys here, and Tyler Warren has been that dude. And I think that he could be a serious weapon. My biggest question is about Anthony Richardson, and a guy that's pulled himself out of games. There's questions about his commitment to his growth. That's the bigger question I have for Shane Steichen in that offense is, what's going to come of what you've been trying to develop at the quarterback position. If you can get that done, awesome, great, do it, awesome. We're gonna that's going to work. And I think Tyler Warren can be a great weapon for you, but it won't matter if your system's broken, your quarterback's not focused on taking every single step that he needs to take in his development. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be swinging again at quarterback sooner rather than later. And Shane Steichen may be out of a job if he's not careful.
No doubt about it. I was on vacation last week, and I did not get a chance, since we're talking about the Colts. Deepest condolences to the Irsay family, and as well as all of the Colts fans and that entire organization for the loss of Jim Irsay, their owners. I know he's a polarizing individual, but one thing I have heard about him is that he really, really cared about people. So we want to give him his flowers today here on Locked On NFL. I was on vacation, so prayers up to the Irsay family as well as the rest of the Colts organization and the NFL family as a whole. Make sure you check out Locked On NFL Scouting with Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino, two of the best in the business. You'll be a smarter NFL fan for it. Also, check out Chris Carter on Locked On Steelers and myself on Locked On Jaguars. And then Tyler Roland be here tomorrow morning with another episode of Locked On NFL. For Chris Carter, Tony Wiggins here. You guys take care. Thank you for spending 31 minutes with us. We appreciate it, and we don't take you for granted. See you later.